How are you doing today? Welcome back to One Non Blonde. I'm your host, Kim, and I got Andre for our weekly meeting. How are you doing, Andre?
I'm doing great today, and I hope you too. It's Monday, and Monday is always a good start in the new week.
I know, and a new start, new router, new booster. So I feel like our picture looks great. So I'm looking at it, going, we only have no place else to go but up. So it's a great day.
Yes, it's a new start.
Yes.
And, we don't have to be in denial when something is good, and we don't have to then be in denial when something is not so good, because that keeps us a little grounded, and it also opens doors for us for improvement. If we're not in denial that something is not that great, then we see how can we make it great. And it really has consequences, everything. When I'm in denial of it, I'm gonna improve. I'm so busy denying it that I might lose what I need to improve. And I'm wondering after a while, it doesn't feel right, it doesn't go right. And it is also with relationships. We have talked about relationships in a more personal manner, but relationships go far beyond. There's our relationship at work. There's our relationship as friends. There's our relationship with our loved ones. There's our relationship with neighbors. And they're all on a different level. They're all not the same, but they have the same base. I have to get the other person to establish a relationship, no matter if it is in the dating area, in the business area, in the neighbor. If I don't dig my neighbor, I don't want to talk to him. So I don't establish a relationship. If I don't dig my coworkers, I just go there and do my job and go home. So that is the consequence. I'm not really happy with my neighbor. I'm not really happy with my coworkers. How can I turn that? And if I'm in denial of it, I will not find a solution, because everything I deny, I push away from me. And I put it in this little pocket of cognitive. And it has to do also with determining our vocabulary. Our narrative is so important, people underestimate. How is your new neighbor who moved into the house next door? Oh, he's doing great. I have not even talked to them. So what is it? I put something in me. It is not a fact. Oh, I love my new coworkers. I don't even know them all, not even half of them.
Or the opposite, saying you don't like your coworkers and not even giving them a chance, which is just
Exactly. You know, and that means pretending in denial is very familiar, because when we don't have to be aware of it, we don't have to deal with it. We think we don't have to deal with it, but we have to deal with it.
yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, do you think that somebody who is in denial and keeps pushing things like relationships away, do you think it kind of like compounds, like it's not just my personal relationships, but it's my, like you said, my neighbors, my work? Do you think that somebody tends to just build almost like a wall of denial on
Yes.
every level? And how do we, first of all, acknowledge that? And second of all, how do we break that wall? This might be a two
And then
part
we stop.
class.
Yeah. No, it's I like it simple, but very simple. We have to stop lying to ourselves.
Hmm.
And we don't see it as a lie, because it's an excuse. I don't know because of. Then know, be in a knowing, educate yourself, communicate. And yes, uh, with some people, it becomes a pattern through all their relationships, no matter if it's private, neighbors, work, whatever. Some of them, it splits up. And that is very funny. Some of them excel at work in their relationships and in with their work. And they cannot apply the same success in their personal, because personally, there might be something along the way in their life they haven't solved. And they're still in denial of solving it. Then denial that changed them. 42 years now, I saw that happen so many times. And it always ends up in a few things, again, in denial. No, I have not changed. Life has not changed me. I just don't feel, and it is my mother's fault, my mother-in-law's fault, it is my husband's fault, my boyfriend's fault. It is everybody's fault. Denial that we might be the person who has to adjust something in our life adjusts. Like some people get the feeling they're not present for their partner or at work, wherever. So they learn to do things by themselves. And by doing that, they bleed on every new relationship. They push it away because they're so in control of themselves that they try to control others too without even knowing it. What does this control have for consequences? That I take for myself 90% credit and I give others 10% credit. It means I do everything right. Others only do 10% right. That what control over people and situations can bring me along. I get too easy judgmental. I get too easy offended. I get too easy mad because it doesn't work my way. The pattern that they did it their way because nobody supported them for a while became so implanted that they don't believe that somebody important, and they get defensive, and they don't give the other the momentum. I have a couple right now, and it was the right thing. He said, "You know, honey, I did last week every day the dishes. So what are you complaining?" "Well, I did the dishes before too." Well, you know, I made a detour 3 times last week, just, you know, because it's hot outside, to get groceries for you. "Well, I did groceries too." Not leaving the other momentum, try to control and turn it around. Don't give the other one the credit or the momentum that things are changing. That I have to change my point of view because I'm in denial that it could be me. I'm not an angel here, but
I thought Andre equals angel. A for Andre, angel.
but I see when we make changes and they get appreciated, we do automatically more changes without somebody telling us because we get motivated. Hey, the pattern I adjusted, getting rid of old patterns and putting newer positive ones in, it works. So let me see. So you look by yourself. I have this habit in the evening when I sit on my bed to take a few minutes and let the day pass by and say, did I do everything right? No. Did I improve from the day before? Yes, here a little bit, here not so much. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to put more emphasis in that. It doesn't mean you have to beat down on yourself. No, it can be motivating. If you see how you can feel better because you do better, that's motivating. You don't have to be saying, oh, I didn't do this today. There's many days I do a lot by doing nothing. On the end of the day, I feel like I was busy all day, really busy. And then the end of the day, I feel like I have done nothing. Well, that's our feeling because we picked up little odds and ends and did this and we're all over the place. So give yourself that credit too. It seems like I did nothing, but you know, this and this and this was done. Don't beat down on yourself and don't be in denial. that there's days we're not that productive. Even God took one day. So why not we? And being in denial of all that, finding excuses of all of that, or becoming, and I will put it out there as it is, becoming selfish by controlling everything and think I do everything right. I have a neighbor. Everybody thinks she's a very nice woman. She cooks for others. She does this. She talks. And is she doing it because of the people? No, she's doing it for recognition. She thinks she's doing it because she's good. But when I talk to her and listen to her motivation, it's always, well, I do it because it makes them happy and it makes me happy. Why are you doing it? Because it makes me happy. It makes me happy. So you see the selfishness. Pretending on the outside, not being selfish, but doing it for the wrong intent. Remember, we talked about the right intent.
Mhm.
And that has to do that her relationships to the people which helps is the relationship. If I make you happy, you make me happy. It becomes a business. It doesn't become a hard thing anymore. It's not by heart, it's a business. I I go and get your milk and eggs from the grocery store because you older people, you don't have to go out in the heat. But I want to be appreciated. You know that? I want to be happy. I want you to see you happy so I can be happy. Hey, come on. That's the wrong intention. So in denial of a deficiency of self-esteem and controlling the situation, to know also, if I go shopping, I'm in control of the situation, so they better be happy, so I'm happy. You see how denial has negative consequences within ourselves? And if we deny it, we cannot fix it. We will not close the gap of missing self-esteem. We will not close the gap of being noticed. You have to be noticed of who you are, not what you do.
Yeah. It reminds me of two things, because I work a lot with volunteers, and I've had opportunities. And so one of the things that always, when you're talking and you're saying this, it brings up to me a lot of times people who work for, like, do the food pantries. Not, I mean, most people that it's they're very much they're there to do volunteers, but you do see those few that have to bring in the big boxes of groceries and make this big production, and then also say things like, well, and I've heard numerous times, well, they should be grateful that they're getting this because they're poor. So they should be lucky and happy that we're doing this. And that's not the intent. I mean,
No,
obviously we want to feed people, but you can always see there's just like and sometimes you just look at them and you go, why are you here? Because it's obviously not about the ministry or the mission. It's about what I need to do to, like, feel good about myself,
I
or
I am above you because I give you something.
yeah.
And that is very interesting that you talk about a food pantry. I knew some people that worked in a food pantry, and when they were talking to each other, coming out to the parking lot was next to a grocery store. I heard them talking. Oh, I never would have thought that they would come to the food pantry. I never. Sometimes it's also to get to know who is poor or not and gossip. That's not the right intention either. I think if you work in an institution where you help people, you help them and you shut up. Excuse me when I'm so rough.
No, it's
You,
truth.
you don't put out there that they're in a tight spot right now, Miss COVID or whatever it is. You don't put it out there because these people look clean, they are clean, they're intact family, they just have a financial low and go to the food pantry to feed their family, and you put it out there in public. That's pretty disgusting.
Yeah. No, I think, like, for me, I remember it's because, like I said, I do a lot of, like I said, I'll do volunteers and stuff like that. And I think one of the most powerful, and again, back to it, was two things that came to mind. But the one time was a person who that I knew, and it was acquaintance. We weren't friends. In fact, she kind of was one of those people who kind of caused me some irritation sometimes. And I happened to, I mean, I happened to, it's the truth. You know, there's people who just don't, you don't rub the right way. And so I hadn't seen her in years. I'm talking probably 6, 7 years. And I was volunteering, and she was there to get services at the place I was volunteering at. And I remember when she saw me, she just burst into tears like of embarrassment. Like, oh my God. I've never said that person's name ever. I know, and I gave her space. I mean, and I treated her with dignity, but I know that in the back of her mind, she's probably thinking, oh, she's gloating or whatever with that. And it's like, no, it was the opposite. My heart was hurting because I could see her tears of embarrassment. But I'm not going to lie. Everybody has problems, and it won't, it's not always financial. It could be emotional, physical, whatever. We all need to be helped. And I think instead of looking at it, I can gloat over you, instead looking at it as I'm here to help, no strings attached. We're just doing this because I know that I need a hand up too.
Right.
Because I
Well,
need hands up with things as well.
that's, I get back to the beginning of our show today when I say in denial. We look and say that can never happen to me because I work hard.
That's not true.
That's baloney.
Mm-hmm.
That's baloney. And if something happened, God bless everybody out there, but you would be very thankful to go someplace to feed yourself or your family. There is nothing wrong with that. That's why this places are made. So you are in denial again. That could never happen to me. And denial starts also with the awareness of things. Being aware that things can change with a blink of an eye. Being aware that nothing is permanently. So if you are going to the food pantry today, a week later you might have a job, you don't need it anymore, and you give back what you have.
Mm-hmm.
You appreciate it and you become a donor. There's so many things that can happen if we have the right attitude and mindset, stop in denial, being aware more of things, and being aware of our environment. And we talked about it, abusing words, and I go back to the relationships. We love everything. Oh, we love, 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 love. That's all I can say. You know, you have to like somebody first before you love it. You have to know somebody first to you love it. And it became because of reusing words, our narrative. We use deep narrative for shallow things. So they lose meaning. Very much meaning. If I say I love talking to you, doesn't mean I love you. But it means I like you, otherwise I wouldn't talk to you. If I say I love the food my neighbor cooks, doesn't mean I love the neighbor. I like the food.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be more careful how we use our words. And they say all the time to me, well, you say you help people, how you do it. I say, I help them to show them how to help themselves. Well, why should they come to you? Because they're stuck somehow. And there were many years in denial, there were many things happen, and you partially don't see it because you just move on and move on and move on, and slower because you drag a big ballast of worries, concerns with you. And sorting that out, simplifying the process, putting your mind in the right place. Hey, I'm not David Copperfield. I cannot do it like that, but I can promise big relief. And big relief means also helping to declutter the mind. We don't even know how full it is. And take away the pattern of denial, creating a sharper awareness of things. Because if I'm aware, I know. And everything I know is easier. I don't have to figure it out. Uh, and I always say, listen, when you ever saw a big concert and the pianist is playing, there's always somebody standing next to them, right? Turning the page because he needs both hands to play the piano. And that is part what I'm doing too. You play with your both hands, and I help you to turn the page to carry on smoothly, no interruptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important. I see it in my own life. If there is a short interruption because of anything, it becomes kind of a, oh, where I'm now, what I'm gonna do now. And if these moments are too many times, or we're denied that there are too many times, our relationships suffer too. Because we pull back sometimes, or we get, without knowing it, aggressive. We get offended by something it is not personal. So this denial and this not fully being aware of things has consequences on our relationships. And somebody sent me 2 weeks ago, well, that's all good and fine, but I have to be in a relationship first. Well, that goes hand in hand. Because if I have this pattern, if I have this oversensitive reaction to everything somebody tells me and take it personally, I push people away before a deeper relationship can start. If I cannot trust anybody from the beginning and say, well, it doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, maybe you don't make sense. So the consequences are really heavy. And the biggest denial is right now. I mean, we're over a year and a half in COVID now. The biggest denial is that it had emotional impact on us, even on me. I work from home. For me, the work environment had zero impact,
Mm-hmm.
zero impact. But there were still things before COVID I couldn't do there. There was restrictions, there was that. Did it affect me emotionally? Yes, sometimes it did. And I tell you, a very simple thing what affected me the most was not to see people smile because the mask was over. That was one of my biggest effects, to see only half of the face.
Of course, I agree.
So we have to be honest with ourselves. The more honest we are with ourselves and more authentic we become again, the more authentic our environment becomes too, because our sensor doesn't become only aware who we can become now, but also scans people differently. And when we see that people give us a wrong billboard, we can create our new billboard, which is who we were before we were 30, before we were 20, before we were 50, and who we would like to become. And saying becoming the best version of ourselves, what does it really mean, Kim?
Mm-hmm.
It means being mindful to ourselves and others. It means using the right vocabulary, the right narrative when we talk to people, and stop being in denial, knowing that if we really want, our life can change tremendously. But nobody will do it for us. Nobody.
Yeah, I was listening and I have all these questions. So I have a couple of things we can come
Of
up with
course,
later.
of course.
So, but I think it's really, these are powerful words. and a powerful message, and you put it in such a simple terminology, but yet it seems like, and here we use the word but, which I've worked with people who come from other countries, and they think the word but in the American language is the funniest thing to use because you're saying one thing, but then you say something else. um, but the reality is that people think it's too hard. It's too, they're just can't figure out why or how I can do this. And again, that's why you're important to have, because you kind of, you help them to realize what that pattern is. Because I'm thinking about my own life. I'm thinking about people I know, and you could see how their relationships, whether it's a work relationship or a personal relationship, how they almost become like they self-sabotage. And again, it's because they're in denial of what's going on. It's like you start out and it's like, oh, maybe this time, that song from Gypsy, maybe this time it'll be different. It doesn't, because you're not changing anything. It's, and that's the thing. It's like we're not changing, or the person's not changing, and you're going to end up with the same results, because you're going to start to, the takeoff is going to be great, and you may start flying okay, and then all of a sudden you're got, like you said, the self-doubt, the controlling, the whatever is there, that hurdle, that that hiccup in your life that you cannot get past. And that's why you find yourself back in the same hole, and you get to the point where you're, like you said, you're blaming everybody else, and then you become so closed minded, in the sense of you kind of cocoon yourself and don't want to even be involved with anything or anybody, and that's not living a full life either. So I really encourage people to reach out to you, because it does make a difference to be able to break through, and it is done in a way that can help people to start to see something like an intent. Like yesterday, I tell on myself all the time, and this is why I love talking to you. So yesterday I was in one of those moods, and I was like cooking and I was doing all these things, and I was trying to cut something and I couldn't cut it right, and then my husband comes by and I'm like cutting it and it was making a mess, and I said, oh, can you come and help me cut this? He goes, and this is exactly what he said to me. He goes, I was coming here to cut this, but you have to do everything yourself. So I'm
Now you have your
here.
mess. Now you have your mess.
And so I was like, you're right. I didn't ask you, because you were sitting down on the couch and I was gonna cut everything I was gonna do. And he came up because he knew I needed it. And but I was going to be that person, like my old control freak way, would have completely wouldn't even have asked him. But I'm learning to ask, and I'm learning to, and then we were just talking a few minutes ago, and it's like, that's not fair to our relationship, that I was just kind of can just do my own thing without sharing in that experience. So again, I hear your little voice, your big voice. But it does. And it's like, you can, when you're listening, and I'm hoping people who are listening can start to open their mind, let it be that open book, and start really looking at themselves with that magnifying glass, because we all have this. Nobody's perfect. Nobody isn't and nobody's able to get away from this. We all have this in different degrees.
And here it is very funny. It was a couple of weeks back. I asked somebody for help. I'm technically not so good in some things. And I get an answer. Why should I help you? You always ask me for help. How do you help me? And I said, did you ever ask me to help you? No, because I don't need help. So I just took it. I was not insulted. I was not annoyed. I said, well, if we don't ask for help, we don't get help.
Yeah.
So if I ask for help and somebody says, I don't want to help you, I'm fine, because we don't sometimes want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Certain reasons, our personal reasons, that is fine. And that's what I want to tell people out there, to ask. But don't take it personally if somebody uses an excuse, this, I don't have time and I don't know, or whatever. Ask somebody else.
It's not a reflection on you. That's just reflection on the situation.
Right, right. So don't take that personally. Like uh, people, a couple of people over the last 2 months, they told me this says, Andre, you're arrogant. And I say, what makes you think like that? Well, you always say we have to talk for 1 hour and then you decide if you can work with me. And I had to smile. I say, it's not arrogant. Well, it is, because I'm paying you and you have to work with me. I say, no, you're absolutely wrong. This hour determines what your energies are. And if we get each other, I can only help people when we can establish in this hour a rapport, when we can work on this working relationship successfully. Otherwise, I'm just an ATM.
Mm-hmm.
I just cash in, and I will not do that. I say, so what's arrogant about saying you have the choice to say, yeah, I like the way you approach my problems, and I have the way to say, yeah, we hit it off at work. Or you have the chance and says, Andre, I need a more powerful person who pounds it into me. That's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And so this hour is very important to give both a feeling, because we don't know each other. And this hour also gives me the opportunity to make the interview about people, to know where they're coming from, to know where the hiccups are, to know where the energies are, and to know how I really, sincerely, authentically can help them and not just say, you know. So, on the end, from the three people who told me that, only one apologized and said, I got it wrong. And here you have the denial again. In denial, I was wrong. One admitted it. Oh, I didn't know. That's why. Good, you talked to me about. The other was just okay. Uh, they will do it in any other relationship too. Testing the waters, washing the dirty hands in it, and forget to put clean water in again. That's how I call it.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of all of that today, you folks out there, denial, excuses, and negativity is an addiction. Huh? Yes, it is.
It is. Yeah.
And if you get rid of this addiction, you live so much happier, because the happiness is in you. We just have to unleash it, set it free. And again, if somebody comes to me and says, Andre, I want to change, I will say, no, you don't have to change. We see what pattern and habits you have to change. I want you to be who you are. I want to find out what brings you down. I want you to find out what has not changed a few years, the relationship with your daughter, with your son, with your coworker. I want to find out where it is and smoothen it out. And sometimes the solution is to make big changes. Sometimes it's just little changes, but please do not change who you are. Please do not.
That's the key. I think, and then with relationships, back to the denial, which I think is a great one for next time. When you change your whole personality to fit in to that hole, that square peg fitting, the getting to the round hole. When you're trying to fit, you're a square peg and you're trying to fit in that round hole, and you completely cut around yourself and the essence of who you are to put yourself in that relationship. And then when it implodes, explodes, whatever, how do you get out of that? Because that's a pattern of somebody. So I think that's a great
Yes.
topic.
Well, the topic I can answer in one sentence. We can save a whole session with what I say now.
Okay.
If you buy a shoe, you try it on. You walk a few steps and see if it fits you and it's comfortable. You don't cut your toes off. And that's how that is too.
Exactly. But people just tend to do it
Don't
anyways.
fit a round head in a square hole.
Yeah.
Look for the round hole. Look for the right size, like you look for the right shoe to walk comfortably. And if you find the hole, to use your metaphor, where your head fits in, your head is comfortable, your heart is comfortable, you are comfortable. That's all I have to say to that. And I want everybody out there feeling comfortable. And I want to put it out into the masses. A lot of people are afraid of approaching me. They say, we're always so positive. So think, I'm afraid to tell you that I'm really in a bad position. Hey, if you don't put it on the Facebook wall, only you and I will know that.
Mhm.
Nobody else. So don't be afraid to approach me and tell you I feel like crap. We all have the moments, phases in our life like that. We're human, thanks God. It's hard to be human sometimes.
Yeah. It
So
is.
I want everybody to have a great week. I want everybody out there just to breathe and know there is help. I want everybody out there knowing everybody has a rough time right now. There's nothing wrong to admit it. You don't have to deny it. And there's nothing wrong of changing it. You all be blessed out there.
Thank you for your kind words, your wise words, and I will see you soon and next week. And again, remember that, every day is a great day, and then every day is an opportunity for us to just continue to know ourselves and to be able to be the best version of who we are. God bless and have a great day.